Abba-dabby dude! Hi there, this is Abba-dabby dude! Welcome back! And today's video is a techie talk. I don't do many of these, but I think this one definitely qualifies. It's a little bit dry, for which I apologise in advance, but I think you'll consider it worthwhile if you're an Apple user. If you're not an Apple user, you really might as well turn this video off now, because this one only applies to people with iPhones or capability of running Apple shortcuts. Basically, I have designed a set of Siri shortcuts which allow you to control your iPace using voice commands through your iPhone, your Apple Watch, your HomePods, your iPads, or even MacBooks now come with shortcuts as well. So the shortcuts are all linked down below in the video description box, but you're going to have to watch the video to see the setup process. Some people might be able to set it up without the video, but I would recommend you watch the video just to make sure you've got all the steps required. So yeah, we will start with the fact that you need to download the Apple Shortcuts program if you don't already have it on your phone. It's an Apple app, designed and owned by Apple, and I think the newer iPhones actually come with it pre-installed, but I couldn't swear to that. But if it's not installed on your phone, just go to the App Store, search for Shortcuts, and download it. And then once you've done that, you can click on the links under the video to download each individual shortcut, or the ones that interest you anyway. So I will take you through them and the setup process. Right, as you can see, when you open shortcuts, well, after you've downloaded them, you'll have all these grey ones. Ignore that top left one that says pause charge. That is actually one of the shortcuts, but it's not one of the versions you'll download. The ones you'll download are all the grey ones with master written next to them in capitals. Now the first one at the top right there, Force Health Check Master, is probably the most important one, in that many of the other shortcuts run that shortcut within them. So you need to, for most of these, not all of them, but most of them, you need to download the Force Health Check Master and set it up in the way that I will show you. The other ones we've got at the moment, I'll just quickly run through them and roughly what they do, but I'll talk about that more in depth later. We've got Fire Up the Jag. They all have master after them. That's purely to avoid me getting them mixed up with my own versions of them, which have got all of my passwords in them. So the master ones are blank ones with no password. Okay. So we've got Fire Up the Jag, which is the command that I use to precondition the car. It starts up the air conditioning and either cools or warms the car interior before departure. So that's Fire Up the Jag. The Lock the Jag, self-explanatory. Unlock the Jag, self-explanatory. What is the Jag's range? Just gives you a quick report of your state of charge and the range. And then what's the Jag's range in kilometres for people that use kilometres? Get the exact tyre pressures. I've got one of these for PSI, kilopascals, and bar, or BAR. And then we've got check my tyre pressures, again in PSI, BAR, and kilopascals. There's a subtle difference between those. Exact tyre pressure ones give you the tyre pressure for each tyre regardless. Check my tyre pressures, just if all the tyre pressures are within the normal range, it just says all your tyre pressures are normal. If any of them are low or potentially high, but normally it would be low. If any of your tyre pressures are below what the car assesses as normal, then it will give you the tyre pressure just for those abnormal tyres. So if everything's normal, that one will just say your tyre pressures are normal. If your rear left is low, it will say rear left tyre pressure is X, which is low, for example. Okay, and then what else have we got? We've got where's the Jag? That one just opens Apple Maps and give you walking directions to wherever your car is. Ignore the next two, charge limit 80% and one off and permanent. Ignore them, they're not in the links down below because they don't do anything. And then we've got force charge and pause charge. One of them stops the car charging, the other one restarts it charging. So that's the shortcuts we've got. So let's go through the setup process now. So if I open Force Health Check Master, which is the first one you need to do, and you open it by tapping on the three little dots at the top right of the icon there. Okay, now you can see it opens and there's a whole string of commands. Okay, now the Force Health Check, what that does is, I didn't tell you what that does, it refreshes the data. So it forces the server to get the latest data from your car. So make sure if you're checking your tyre pressure or your range, it's not operating on state of charge from yesterday or whatever, so it updates it first. So that's why you have to make sure this one's set up first. Now if you tap the little three dots at the top right there, it takes you into a series of options. You know, really the main one to do is delete master from that. Okay, and that's it. So now the shortcut, if I go back, just says, if you look at that top right one, the word master is gone and it is now just Force Health Check. Okay, you can change it. That one you need to keep. You need to keep that as Force Health Check because the other shortcuts reference it as that. So please just delete the word master and don't rename it beyond that on this one, okay? And then we've got a series of text fields. So if you look at that top one, it says, replace this text with the email address associated with your InControl account. So what you have to do there is, if I can, there we go. If I select all of that text and delete it, and then just put in your email address, your mail at mail.com. Now obviously that needs to be the address that you use for your InControl account. Okay, and scroll down to the next field, and it says replace this text with your InControl password. So there you would put in whatever your password is for your InControl account. The next text field is a slightly more complicated one, but you can see here it says visit www.uuidgenerator.net and create a version 4 code. If you go to that website, it loads straight up with a page and it gives you a version 4 UUID code. It's about a 16-string code with some hyphens in it. Okay, that's a unique code. So you can either use the one that pops up or refresh it and generate another one, but copy that code. You can then use that exact same code for all of these shortcuts, or you can use a different one for each shortcut. It really makes no difference at all. Personally, I would recommend you just get one and use it for all of them. So basically, you then just copy that from that website, delete all of that text, and put in your UUID code as downloaded. There's one less U than that. UUID code that you've just copied off of that website. Then, the next one, you need to replace all of that text with your VIN. And it's the exact VIN, all characters, as it appears on your V5 document or in the car itself. Okay, and then finally, so V5 is British, but for people outside of Britain, it's the code that the VIN code as it appears in your registration document, whatever that is in your country. And the final one is, it's an odd one, but you just have to take the last 4 digits of your vehicle's VIN. So if your vehicle VIN ends in 7174, then you would type in there 7174. Okay. And then the next one, you need to replace that with your PIN, which is not the master PIN, but the user PIN that you've selected for your InControl system. So it's whatever PIN you use in the InControl app, that PIN you put in there. So if your PIN was stupidly 1234, then you put 1234 in there. And that's it. That's the setup done. Okay, so once you've done that for Force Health Check, you then go through that exact same process for every other shortcut. But there's a few other things that you need to know that you can do. So if you look at the Fire Up the Jag master, let's say you would delete master. Now let's say you don't want it to be Fire Up the Jag, because whatever the shortcut name is, that's the voice command that gets it. So if I say, hey, SIRI, I'm going to avoid saying it through this whole video so that your iOS devices aren't triggering left, right and centre. But if I say, hey, Fire Up the Jag, that launches the command. So you can rename the command to anything you want. So let's say you want it to be really boring and say aircon on as your voice command. Just rename the command to that, and that will be your voice command. So now if you say, hey, aircon on, it will precondition your car. So whatever you name the command is what it will do. The only one you can't do that to is the Force Health Check one. Please leave that as Force Health Check. You can also change the icon. If you tap on the little icon at the left there, it calls up that. You can change the colour. I have greens and reds for lock and unlock and aircon on, aircon off, etc. But so you can change the colour, and the glyph is the icon. So obviously I've got a temperature icon for that. You could change it to a car icon, you know, whatever you want. But as I say, for me, I have Force. No, I don't. I have Fire Up the Jag. That's a homage to Gene Hunt from I can't remember if it was Life on Mars or Ash to Ashes. I think it was Ash to Ashes where he actually said it, but he had an Audi Quattro on that TV show, and he once uttered the phrase, fire up the Quattro. And I've adopted that. So that is, oops. I'll just stick that back to master because I've already got one as Fire Up the Jag. But there you go. So you can rename every shortcut to whatever voice command you want. Whatever you name it, that's the voice command. And then obviously set up each individual one, going through that exact process that I've just shown you. It's simple enough. It's quite lengthy because you have to do it for each individual shortcut. Couple of pieces of advice I would give you. I've got all these get exact tire pressures, PSI for example. Whatever one you use, if you use PSI, then just download the PSI one and then rename it to just get exact tire pressures. That way you'll take any reference to that out of it, and it makes the shortcut a more natural voice command. So rather than, hey, you know who, get exact tire pressures, PSI, you can change it to, hey, you know who, what are my exact tire pressures, for example. But to do that, you would name the shortcut, what are my exact tire pressures. Hope that all makes sense. So there you go, that is the Shortcuts app. Those are the shortcuts. The links are all underneath. You can download whichever ones you like, but most of them, not all of them, but most of them access the Force Health Check shortcut first. So when you run, for example, what's my Jag's range, the first thing it does is run the Force Health Check app, shortcut, should say, and then go through the process of getting the range from the car. So you will need to download Force Health Check for most of these shortcuts. But other than that one, you can pick and choose whichever ones you want. And yeah, we'll now go on to demonstrate how they work. One thing that I forgot to mention in that little segment there is that there's one additional setting you can adjust during that setup phase, on the Fire Up the Jag shortcut, you can actually adjust the temperature that the cabin warms or cools to. So by default it is set to 23 degrees Celsius, but you can change that. So if you scroll past all of those fields that I just gave you, where you had to input your passwords and your pins, etc., after that last one, the user pin, you'll see there's a text field there with just the number 23 in it. That's the target temperature in degrees Celsius. So you can just delete that, change it. You can adjust it between 16 to 28 degrees, or if you set it to 28.5, it will be set on max and it will just constantly blow hot air. Or you can set it to 15.5, which will set it on min, which will constantly blow cold air. Otherwise, you can set an exact temperature, anything between 16 and 28 degrees. And then every time you use this shortcut, that's the temperature that your cabin will precondition to. So we'll just go through an example of some of the shortcuts running. I won't do all of them, but I'll show you a few of them. We'll start with the one that we probably will end up using the most, certainly the one I use the most, which is hey you know who. But in this case I'm going to trigger all of these by pressing the Siri button on the side of the phone, but you can obviously trigger them by saying hey you know who. We've got HomePods in the house as well. We've got them scattered all over the house, so pretty much in any room of the house I don't even have to take my phone out of the pocket. I can just say hey you know who, fire up the Jag, and it happens. So if you've got HomePods, these will work perfectly fine on the HomePod as long as your iPhone is connected to your Wi-Fi network that your HomePod's on, and it works really well. I can highly recommend it in that format or in that use case. So as it is, let's go through some demos. So fire up the Jag.
Just a moment. Adjusting the cabin temperature to 23 degrees Celsius.
Okay, so she's adjusting the cabin temperature, and you can see just above, hope you can make it out, just above the temperature dial, it's now saying max, and the windscreen flow thing is running. So that's the AC coming on for preconditioning. You might be able to hear the fans kicking in as well. So with a simple command on your phone, your Apple Watch, your HomePod, you can get the AC running without having to dig out your phone, open up the app, wait for the app to refresh, switch to the remote page, wait for the FaceID or TouchID, or input your PIN, and then click on the aircon and then wait for it to cycle. Just a simple voice command. So we've got more as well that we've got, so I'll demonstrate the unlock one now. If I can, oops, get the phone out, we'll go through it again. I'm going to press the button just to save triggering all your devices. Unlock the Jag, and it then runs through the program. It can take a few seconds, because it's waiting on the API, which is not the fastest. But as you can see, it's already unlocked while I was talking there, and we can lock it again. Lock the Jag. Again, takes a few seconds. Your Jag is locked, and there it goes. The handles pull in and the car locks itself. Okay, now some of the other ones we've got here are the range, so let's run that one. I'll shut up while it's running so you can actually hear a response. What is the Jag's range?
Just a sec. One more moment.
Like I said, sometimes it's slow.
The battery is 84% charged, giving a range of 179 miles.
So there you go. Tells me my state of charge and how far I can go on it. That's obviously a gasometer figure, so it's as accurate as the GOM is. And then we can do the tyre pressures. So I'll show you the difference between the two versions of that. Check my tyre pressures.
All tyre pressures are within normal parameters.
Okay. And then we've got the alternative version. Get exact tyre pressures.
I'm on it.
She's on it.
Front right tyre pressure is 39 psi, which is normal. Front left tyre pressure is 39 psi, which is normal. Rear right tyre pressure is 41 psi, which is normal. Rear left tyre pressure is 41 psi, which is normal.
So you can see the difference there. The get exact tyre pressures gives you the pressure for every single tyre. Check my tyre pressures only tells you the pressure of any tyres that there's a problem with. Otherwise it just says normal. And then the others are force charge and pause charge, which are fairly self-explanatory. And where is my Jag, which just gives you walking directions on Apple Maps to your car. And that's pretty much it. As I say, all the links are down below. You can download them all there. And hopefully they'll work for you. If you've got any problems, do let me know. The UUID thing is probably the trickiest part of the whole process. But once you understand how that works, it kind of isn't really an issue. Sorry, just had to shut my phone off there. Yeah, so it just isn't an issue once you understand that process. And like I say, you only need one code. You can use the same code for all the shortcuts. So I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it interesting. Sorry it's iOS only, but that's all I know, I'm afraid. So I'm sure it's technically possible to do the same thing with Android, but that's not something I've got any knowledge or understanding of. So somebody else is going to have to pick up the baton on that one. But let me know how they work for you. Let me know if you like them. Let me know how good the functionality is. As I say, you can rename it anything, and whatever name you give it, that will be the voice command that triggers it. But please leave force health check as force health check, and remember to delete the word master from it. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. Leave some comments down below. Let me know how you get on. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it. And if you're enjoying my content generally, then do click on subscribe. It helps a lot. And also click on the bell, and then you'll get a notification every time we upload a new video. Every time I upload a new video. If you do want to subscribe, you can do that right now by clicking on my ugly little face over there. And please do check out some of my other videos like this one up here. Till next time, this is Abu Dhabi Dude saying so long, take care, see you soon. Bye. Abu Dhabi Dude.